In the movie Jurassic Park, fictional scientists brought the dinosaurs back to life on a remote Caribbean island. On just such an island, real scientists are now searching for the fossils that inspired the movie. These are the amber hunters. The treasure they seek may finally reveal the lost secrets of the prehistoric world. These hunters are at the forefront of a new age in dinosaur research. They are part of a scientific mission that, if successful, could bring back the lost world of the dinosaurs. They are searching for the ultimate fossils. Creatures that died millions of years ago and yet survive intact, preserved in amber. Amber is nature's undertaker. The animals, plants, and insects it entombs provide a unique snapshot of life millions of years ago. Amber is also in great demand for its beauty and expensive because of its rarity. Only 20 locations around the world produce amber. This is one of them. The Dominican Republic, on the Caribbean island of Hispaniola. Amber was already prized by the natives when Spanish explorers arrived here 500 years ago. This cockroach is 20 million years old. The amber preserved what it ate, the genetic code in its cells, and the atmosphere it lived in. Amber's tiny bubbles could even contain the air the dinosaurs breathed 65 million years ago.
Hey, Jorge.
Hey, Roy.
How you doing?
Hey, man.
Roy buys over 40,000 pieces of amber a year from dealers like Jorge Caridad. But before he buys, he has to examine every piece carefully.
You see this?
I'm looking for a good price on a few. Let me pick out a couple here. It's a bit of a gamble when buying the amber because you never know what you're going to find inside. Certain pieces will yield insect and fossil material, and certain pieces may come up barren or sterile. An exceptional piece of amber can sell for as much as $25,000 to $30,000, depending on what's in it. Vertebrates like lizards and frogs are certainly those types of pieces that do seem to fetch that kind of money. What do you need to get for this little group here?
For the price?
Yeah.
Give me 2,000 each pieces.
That's a fair
Very
price.
good pieces.
That's a very fair price. We got a deal.
The rarest and most prized amber is blue. A chunk like this can sell for $2,000. But when Roy scours the markets, he's less concerned with the color than what the amber contains. To get the best deal, Roy buys in bulk. A single fossil may be worth more than all the rest put together. This game of bluff and double bluff requires a cool head and a poker face. Roy's competitors are private collectors. To beat them to the best fossils, Roy and geologist Manuel Iturralde Vignent go in search of the source.
They are sandstone. You see that the landscape is very peculiar. And then what you see it on the top of the hills.
It takes at least 1 million years to create a piece of amber. 20 million years ago, before these mountains existed, huge forests covered the low-lying island of Hispaniola. A now extinct species of Hymenaea tree thrived here, producing large flows of resin which eventually hardened. Resin is nature's way of protecting trees from attack by burrowing insects and animals. It's highly effective. In seconds, it traps its victims and kills them. When the trees died, they were washed into rivers, and the slow process of fossilization began. After the resin sank to the bottom, silt and mud buried it. After millions of years, layer after layer was compressed until immense pressures hardened the resin into amber. Later, the continents collided, pushing and buckling the shores into mountains. Today, Roy and Manuel are following the geological clues left by these ancient marine rocks deep into the mountains. All along the path, shafts have been driven into the earth. They have reached La Taca, a major source of Dominican amber. Some of these hand-dug shafts are up to 200 feet deep. Inside, the humidity is stifling. Temperatures can reach 100 degrees. For the miners, digging for amber is backbreaking and dangerous work. Tropical rains are frequent, and the tunnels quickly flood. The ceiling of the shaft has no support and could collapse at any moment. La Taca has claimed the lives of several miners. Most of these men have seen their friends killed or injured. Yet the quest for amber drives them on. They ignore the dangers. The mine can yield several pounds a day, much of it containing fossils. Chunks of raw amber are often no more than a few inches long. The dirt and darkness make it hard for Roy to see if there are any valuable fossils inside. In the mining village nearby, Roy makes one final deal before heading home. Amber is considered a semi-precious stone even without fossils. Some he'll fashion into jewelry. Some he will sell to other collectors. When they return to New York, the amber hunters will travel back in time to the age of the dinosaurs. The American Museum of Natural History in New York, where the real amber hunters come face to face with the fictional world of Jurassic Park. David Grimaldi's dream is to use amber to reconstruct the extinct worlds of the distant past. Fascinated by bugs as a boy, he is now a world authority on extinct insects, examining thousands of pieces of amber a year for new species.
It never gets boring. I mean, it's almost an obsession going through this material. The thrill never stops, and I've seen hundreds of thousands of pieces of Dominican amber, and when you find something new that you haven't ever seen before, it's still thrilling.
This gecko lizard obviously fought to stay alive as the resin crept over it. An X-ray reveals its spine is broken in several places, powerful testimony to its instinct for survival. As the stricken gecko struggled desperately to free itself, it broke its back, then perished. Naturalists have long been fascinated by the properties of amber, but few realized just how important the fossils were. Only recently has amber's full potential been realized.
Technology has revealed a level of preservation that was unexpected. Soft tissues, things like muscles and organs are intact in these things. They're dried out, but it's beautifully embalmed. I mean, ancient Egyptian morticians would have been envious of this kind of embalming. For scientists like myself who are interested in the study, the history, the evolution of life, insects are the natural thing to study. They're the most diverse organisms on Earth, the most abundant kind of animals on Earth, and they're also among the earliest land animals. In those terms, insects are evolutionarily probably the most successful life form on our planet.
It took a decade of trying before scientists at the American Museum of Natural History finally hit the jackpot. They successfully extracted the DNA of a termite like this. The quest for ancient DNA turned to amber more than 65 million years old. But dinosaur period amber is among the rarest. This caterpillar, found in Lebanon, is one of only a handful of its kind ever found. It probably lived in the same forest and ate the same leaves as the dinosaurs 120 million years ago. In 1993, the same day as Jurassic Park premiered, the news that DNA had been recovered from another Lebanese fossil had everyone asking, could dinosaurs really be brought back to life? While the stories made headlines, David Grimaldi was on the verge of his own astonishing discovery. One day, an amateur amber collector brought news Grimaldi had waited years to hear. Grimaldi hit the road immediately and headed not to some exotic jungle, but to New Jersey. Here, while land was being cleared for new houses, construction workers uncovered a large seam of amber dating back to the dinosaurs. The sight was beyond Grimaldi's wildest dreams.
My immediate reaction was, I think I was a bit stunned when he showed me that amber, perhaps a bit, I was in somewhat disbelief. And it really wasn't until he brought me out to this site that I actually believed that there was this abundance in a particular area.
Grimaldi and his team have worked against the clock to recover as much amber as possible. To keep other fossil hunters from exploiting the site, its exact location has been kept secret. Amber is just below the surface.
This is a really wonderful piece that has just come out. It's a flow, part of a flow or stalactite of amber, and it actually has a crack in it. But these particular pieces are very likely to have insects in it, and it has some transparency to it.
The amber dates back to the Cretaceous period, 90 million years ago.
It's a real nice gemstone.
Oh boy, yeah, that's real
Cloning
nice.
dinosaurs is still science fiction, but piece by piece, amber is helping David Grimaldi reconstruct the world they lived in.
Ooh, gemstone.
Yes.
Nice one.
Go.
This site is going to be one of the best Cretaceous deposits in the world. It might not have dinosaurs in it, but it has a remarkable array of fossil flowers preserved in the clays. That plus the ambers and the hundreds of varieties and species of insects and other organisms preserved in the ambers give us a unique insight into the ecology of a Cretaceous community.
This piece of amber contains the world's oldest known ant, and with it the seeds of a revolution that would radically alter the landscape and change the course of life on Earth.